Hi, and welcome to Talking Tuesdays. I'm Lisa, and this is Phil. And today we're going to be talking about the rhythm, Unending Change Within. So Phil, can you unpack that just a little bit for us?
Yeah, so we have these rhythms about what it means to experience this better life in Jesus. Not really discipline so much as just ways to incorporate in our life things that we would expect to be true of folks that are trying to follow Jesus in their everyday. And I think one of the things that sometimes gets lost in the shuffle if you've been going to church for a while or if you call yourself a Christian is this idea that like healthy things grow, which is true. We know that universally, and that growing things change. And that's true about everything, right? That's true about your garden at home. That's true maybe about your family. That's true about the place that you work. And it's true of your spiritual life. And so I think being able to take a look back and look forward to say, am I experiencing real healthy change in my life? Or have I maybe slowed down or actually stopped where my life is not changing much at all? And if we're not careful, that kind of calcification in our own journey, in our own walk, not only stops us from growing closer to God, but it actually can create distance between us and other people too.
One of the things I've thought of is that kind of all of the other rhythms, when they're measured up against each other and work together, that is kind of when we feel that unending change within, when it's that almost that like a humble heart where we are open to what God is doing, whether that's in our daily time with Him and in our weekly worship time, or when we're connecting in community and with other people, and even in the ways that we're generous. If we're doing that with this heart that's for God, that's for other people, I feel like that's when we are open to the change that God is bringing into our lives.
Yeah, I agree. I think even the way that we sequence these rhythms, when you see them on like kind of a piece of paper, the unending change within rhythm is the final one. And so they kind of all stack on each other for sure. But I think it really does become a culmination of a life that says, you know what, I'm not just Christian-ish. I really am somebody that's trying to follow Jesus with my whole life. And when I do that, there's no way that I can't experience the humility that says, I'm not there yet. You know, one of the things that we say all the time is that if you still have a pulse, God still has a plan to grow and develop you. And I think it's easy to feel like maybe in this season of your life or in the career path that you're on, or even in your own walk with God, I think I'm good now. I think I'm done. And you're still here. God's not done with you yet.
Yep. When I was in this Bible study a couple years ago, and one of the questions at the beginning of the Bible study was always, what do you want to get out of this by the end? And I didn't realize I was doing it, but it became a standard answer is, I don't want to be the same at the end of this study as I am today. And so it was just wanting, like craving change to happen, which was usually not comfortable, but always worth it in the end.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's this challenging thing that happens in church world for us where if we don't have that prayer request, if we don't have that heartbeat, I think what can happen is we make the goal, rather than transformation, we make the goal acquiring more information. We read in the Bible that knowledge puffs up. And so when we just take knowledge and just consume it, and I've heard you say this, that consuming more and more spiritual content, it's almost like spiritual calories that are designed to be worked out in a change within and a changed life and transformation. And we become kind of spiritually constipated when all our life is characterized by is just more, consume. And I don't let God have access to the stuff in me that He wants to change. And by changing those things in me, He wants to change some things through me.
Yeah, because He's working both in us, through us, and with us. And I think that's where we see and we experience what that unending change feels like, because we're never done growing. We're never done changing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think one of the things that, like we talked about even kind of getting ready for this conversation, was that text in Romans 12, right? If you've been in church for a while, you've probably heard it, that we shouldn't be conformed to the patterns of this world, but we should be transformed by the renewing of our mind. And it's really an outflow of this living sacrifice that we get to make a choice to live a different way, that because of what God has done for us, we live our lives open-handed to Him and say, God, you know what? I know that there are going to be patterns in this world that are easy, that are tempting, that pull me in over and over again. But I so desperately want to be transformed because I recognized that there are paths in my own mind that were taking me down the wrong path, that were having me think about or stay inside and stuck in patterns that were unhealthy or unhelpful. But when I let God renew my mind and transform my life, then the change, I mean, I can't imagine it ever stopping in my life. God's got a lot of work to do. And I think continuing to stay open to him doing that, it really does. It feels like the outflow of all these rhythms in my life.
Yep. And I heard someone say recently, when you set your mind to something, you'll do it because your mind is focused and it's set on that. And when your mind is focused and set on God, he will transform your life.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thanks so much for checking this out. I hope that it's been helpful for you. We really want these conversations just to be ways for you to carry this on into your week, whether you're watching this at lunch or you're watching this like during work. Like, we're cool, no judgment. We're just glad whether you're in the pickup line or at the gym, that maybe this is just one more way that God can speak to you this week and can challenge you in an area of growth that he wants for you, because he wants it for all of us. I hope it happens that way and it continues to work in you this week. Until we see each other again, have a great day.